Hello to all of our listeners, and welcome back to the Parent Solution, your one-stop shop for all things educational. Today is a guest episode. I have an amazing individual here with me. We connect on a lot of levels. His name is Ron Schwally. Ron, welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate you for having me on, and I'm super excited to offer whatever value I can to everybody listening. Hey, everyone.
You definitely have a lot of value that I am excited to introduce to our listeners. Why don't you maybe start with an intro of you and who you are, maybe a little bit about your background and like where you come from.
Absolutely. I am an educator. I am a martial artist. I'm a yogi. I'm a former pro wrestler. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a student of improv and martial arts. My world really transformed for me when I was 25 years young, and I was in the process of getting a finance degree in at college, and wasn't happy about my life. But I was programmed from a young age because of a bullying incident that happened at 12. I programmed myself that money was important and the end all be all. I took a seminar in 2001, January, called the Landmark Forum that is magical. They don't even advertise, and it's like insane the people that find this seminar and within 3 days transform their life. Um, and I went to my karate teacher at the time, who I was learning how to be a better fighter because I was a pro wrestler and I wanted to possibly go wrestle in Japan. And I know that they tend to beat up the newbies that come from other countries to see how tough that they were. So I wanted to learn legit martial arts. And in that training, in between that, I did that seminar and then dropped out of college the next day. Walked around the mall feeling like I was Neo unplugged from the Matrix. And then a couple of years later, I found out that the Wachowski brothers were actually in that seminar saying one day we want to be directors. And then they based the Matrix on this seminar that I did. And yeah, I was just walking around the mall, realizing how insignificant everything was and all the stories I made up about this and that were just, little robots stuck in programs. And I went to my karate teacher at the time and said, listen, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I really enjoy teaching kids karate. I remember doing it when I was younger. I remember teaching my little cousin in Israel karate for the first time for a whole entire week. And then his dad, my uncle, who was the CEO of a company, um, came in on like Friday night before I was going to fly out, and he didn't have any time for his son to show him all the karate he's learned for the week. So I kind of in that seminar saw who I thought I wanted to be, which was wealth and money, and then realized true joy was just, the joy of him trying to show off the karate that I taught him that he learned. So fast forward a couple of years. They trained me how to work with kids. The dad was a former elementary school teacher. The wife was a preschool teacher. I trained for about 2 years with them. He told me you're going to get like a master's in education without the degree, but without the debt too, which I kind of liked. I ended up later on in life going to get myself into the debt just so I can have that MED after my name so I can get bigger speaking gigs. Only reason, 100% it worked. Um, but I started teaching karate in preschools, and it was interesting because I came from a dojo where I tell kids what to do and they'd be like, yes sir, yes ma'am, to the instructors. And then I walked into a preschool and I had a kid tell me no, which I'm just like, what do you, like, it blew my mind. I'm like, what do you mean no? It's like, I'm the teacher, you're the instructor, you're supposed to, I'm the teacher, you're the child, you're supposed to have respect. My brain activated, which it usually does, as a lot of us, we have that voice in our head, or two voices or three, that say stuff and then we just agree with it instead of going like, well, where's this information coming from? And maybe there's other parts of my body I can ask. Like now I talk about asking your heart what to do, asking your gut what to do. And then if you listen more with your heart and your gut, as opposed to your brain, that I found just sabotages, lies to you, makes up stories. Oh, they're talking about you. They're not, but your brain just wants to say that to you so you can choose to get upset. It's this whole dopamine thing that we'll chat about in a little bit. So I basically looked at that kid and my brain turned on for a little bit. I'm an adult. How many of your listeners have that voice in their head? that says things like, my children's supposed to listen to me. They're respectful. They're disrespectful. Look at me when I'm talking to you. All these things that this voice in our head says instead of actually us connecting with the kids. So once I saw that voice turn on and I got upset at that child as he started running around the room, but then I my heart went, that's you. Like, that's you when you were a little bratty kid, when you were running around, when your mom couldn't even have a job because I was getting, they had to go in every 2, 3 days. I was getting into fights, getting kicked out. I was super ADHD. ODD wasn't invented until later, so I didn't have that, but I do have it now. I have DO double G for shizzle. And she actually didn't let them medicate me because we came from Israel, so they didn't have that stuff. They actually dealt with problems instead of trying to suppress emotions and suppress the kids' full self expression. So basically, they had a challenge with me, and I just became one of the most oppositional kids. And then eventually, they put me into a military naval academy, where 3 weeks later, I tried to commit suicide to get out of there, and then turned into the biggest bully in my school. And that's also at 12 years young. That's when I tried to kill myself after 3 weeks of being there with no help whatsoever. And I was looking up at the ambulance ceiling and saying, now that I'm not knowing, now that I feel safe because I'm away from those guys that were abusing me every day, I said someday I'm going to have all the money in the world so I can find those two guys and kill them. And in that heightened state of emotion, the body does what it's designed to do. In a heightened state of trauma, the body doesn't want to feel that way anymore. So it takes a screenshot or a Polaroid exactly of that situation and then programs you all the way into your operating system. So every single day that I woke up, my world was, how do I make money so I can find those two guys and take them out until I did that seminar. So 13 years ran me money, 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 money. Um, so anywho, so I'm working with this. I have this kid in my preschool class, and he starts running around, and my heart goes, "That was you." And then my gut goes, "Okay, so we need to sell him on changing his behaviors. This is sales training." And then I started thinking about the first time I dropped out of college when I went to do real estate. The second time I dropped out of college, I was learning for business, but I was learning nothing in college. And then in real estate, I learned about contracts, I learned about negotiation, I learned about sales techniques. Then I dropped out again and I went to become a personal trainer at a gym and I learned about this and I learned about management. I became an assistant manager of a general nutrition store. So all the stuff that college doesn't teach you, which is majority of the time, that real life teaches you, which is also why if we get into the conversation of K-12, why I'm such a huge advocate for homeschooling, and I think that public schools are just the indoctrination centers of America. I mean, why do you think they put you immediately into cubicles? I'm sorry, individual desks. Don't talk to your friends as cheating, but anywhere else in the world is collaboration. But the indoctrination system's amazing. Um, so then I started looking at, how do I get this child to choose to change his behaviors? And then I really went into my previous neurolinguistic programming training and just started studying, and really, like, this was the first thing I was really interested other than martial arts and pro wrestling. And eventually what happened is a couple of years later, I'm running a preschool enrichment company. We're in like 40 different schools in New Jersey doing karate, soccer, sports. There's a chain of these schools called the Goddard schools. They had like 350 at the time. Now they're up to like 600. And all these directors, I would come in and they would reach out saying, "Hey, listen, how does your snot-nosed punk 18-year-old instructor that's in their first year of college control these kids better than my teachers with master's degrees?" So my brain just went into like, well, I have this system. And they're like, "Can you teach our teachers?" So I started doing workshops on it. And then eventually Goddard reached out to their head of curriculum, and the guy came down and we set up a specific training at a Goddard school in Princeton. He came down, drove like 2+ hours from the King of Prussia Corporate Center in PA, Pennsylvania. And by the end of the workshop, he's like, "This is amazing. This is the stuff that we teach, but you have a system." And I'm just like, yeah, my ADHD, ODD, OCD brain has to create something functional that makes sense. So that was April of 2009. And then June of 2009, I'm sitting in his office 2 hours into Pennsylvania. We have 4 conferences around the country. for all our directors, and we want you to do. It was Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, and Atlantic City. It's like we want you to keynote Atlantic City. And I come from an improv background, which is just say yes to anything. Like that's how I got in the preschool. I was doing a karate birthday party outside at a person's house, and the director of the first preschool I ever worked at came up to me and said, "Can you do this at a preschool? Like, do you have lesson plans and curriculum?" And I just lied and said, "Yeah, 100% lesson plans. Just yeah, I just say yes to everything." And what's the worst consequence? Like you say, yeah, I mean, I even tell my friends, like who even, and this is, I like being controversial, pushing buttons. Like if you really think about this, and for those of you that got degrees and don't use it, I tell my friends, just tell the people you got a degree. Like, why go to 4 years of college? Why go to this and that? Like, who checks? Whoever, people listening to this, whoever actually goes, let me see your transcript. Nobody. You can literally go, I have a degree from, no one would ever think somebody would lie about it. No one's ever going to check. And then you see the degree just gets you the interview. You get yourself the job. So why waste time and money? But whatever. Anyway, so bottom line is then my behavior system. Asked me, do you want to do the keynote in Atlantic City? I said, awesome. What's a keynote? And he said, you talk less and get paid more. I said, cool. And then he offered, I'm like, how much you get paid? And at this time I was charging like $250 for a 2 hour workshop. And I thought it was a lot, but it was like, what was going on? So he's like, well, we'll pay you 1,500. I'm like, and travel expenses. I'm like, $1,500. Yeah. And then my brain heard, wait, didn't you say you have 4 conferences? He goes, yeah. So he's like, all right, so why don't I just keynote all 4? And he's like, okay. So October of 2009, from making not a lot of money but still teaching kids and all this stuff, I was paid $6,000 for that month to keynote all these conferences. It was amazing. And then from there, I tried doing keynotes. A lot of I did a lot of trainings, a lot of workshops. I started doing bullying assembly programs. I started doing more workshops. But really, my career didn't explode till 2017 because I met this guy named Daniel Puder, former WWE wrestler, mixed martial artist, undefeated. He had these schools in Florida, still has them, called My Life, My Power Institute. They're for grades 6 through 12 for kids that public schools are failing them. And his whole thing is about mentorship. You want to do this career, get a mentor. You want to do that, get a mentor. You want to do into clothing, he brings mentors every single week of different industries into the schools to talk to the kids, real life, not BS stuff. And so my world is like, all right, well, let me stop letting my ego and my brain run me. Let me figure out mentorship. And I talked to 2 different early childhood keynote speakers, and both of the coaching that they gave me just totally blew up my speaking career, so which is why I totally love. Like I just went to a conference this past week, and there's 2 guys that came up to me. It's like, I want to be a speaker. I have no idea what to do, this and that. I got so excited because I get to now help them share their message with the world to become a speaker. Because being a speaker, one, is challenging enough. Running a speaking business is a whole nother world that it took me like 7 years to figure out, going to all these different national speaker association, and nobody was an education speaker, but I learned about different things from there. So and right now my world is I travel with my love, my wifey. We go to conferences. We're going to be in a big conference leaving tomorrow, the biggest Head Start conference in the country. That's the public preschool of the United States, the funded government. um and that's going to be for a couple of days. That's going to be awesome. And it's very interesting because we're going to be in our costumes and our characters, and it's an early childhood conference. And last year there were like 3,600 people there, and we were the only ones in costume. And you'd think it would be, my world is like, I want this to be like Comic Con. These are preschool teachers that go in and work with 3 to 5 year old kids and 2 year old. How you're not silly and goofy and joyous and full of love and singing. It's crazy, but I think it's because, like if we think about who were the last people that we looked at, our brain recognizes teachers. Most people, college professors, ooh, fun. That's sarcasm. High school teachers, whoopee. They're just programmed reading off of an archaic textbook that is half of its BS anyway or insignificant to the learner. So, you don't remember what it's like. Nobody remembers their preschool teacher who would sing songs and strum guitars, and she had a hippie bandana, and she was wonderful, and she'd sing, row, row, row your boat, whatever, and you would just love it. So, our job is to really bring people back to connect with their inner child, have them understand what things have happened in their life that get in their way, like our programming. But then there's the other side that I do outside of schools, which is do assembly programs outside of public schools on bullying, helping kids communicate with their parents because I was just doing too many. I was doing bullying assembly programs, and I had kids asking me, what do I do? What do I do if somebody hits me and I get in trouble? I have on my Breaking the Bullying Circle website and YouTube channel. I have videos. This one girl's asking me, why do I get in trouble for standing up for myself? I have other kids on there saying, it's like I put my hands up to block because the teachers say, we'll take care of it and nothing happens. And then I put my hands up to defend myself and then I get suspended. Like all the horse poop that's going on in American public schools, and it's actually happening all over the world. In my opinion, it's a whole just design of victimization. There's no reason why, in my brain, you would shame and shun kids when they put their hands up to defend themselves. If that's the way that it works in college, if you were assaulted, you wouldn't be suspended. In real life, if you were assaulted, you wouldn't be suspended. But in high school, they do not want kids. This is my opinion from what I've seen, based on also the level of all the school shootings that are happening, the level of all the bully sides that are happening, is that the public schools design is the same. As soon as you get into first grade, they put you in your cubicles, they give you homework, they brainwash you into doing homework at home, which then as an adult, you go, oh, well, my job has me doing 40, 50 hours of work, but now I don't want to do work at home. But I remember homework. We did that in high school. Oh, so now I can do extra work for the company that I really don't even like to work for and not get paid extra for it. And it's just like it's such a systemized BS. Like, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V talks about like how the education system doesn't make sense and it needs to be remodeled, and people are just like, you need to, and like people have this programming of like, you need to have a college degree to fall back on, which is the stupidest thing I've heard. It's like, what, you don't even use your degree for anything, you need to have a degree to fall back on. Gary V said that's like keeping a horse in the barn just in case your car breaks down. No, you get a new car, you get a different car, you fix the car. It's like, so my world is about helping families and kids communicate with each other, watching kids' faces when they say, "What do you want me to do?" If somebody's punching me, kicking me, and the parent goes, "Hit him back." And the parent goes, "Put your hands up, defend yourself." And the kid looks at them with just a big awe face going, "Really? I can do that?" But the parents think that public schools are the way they were 20, 30 years ago, where if a bully messed you too much, you turned around, you popped them, you made their eyes tear up, and then all of a sudden the bully goes, okay, I'm not going to pick on you anymore, and then everybody else sees you're not a victim, and then the problem solved. It's solved in 30 seconds. But now people live in all this world of this emotional, sensitive, this and that, whatever, blah blah blah. Like it's horrible. It's just, there's a whole thing of victimization. I mean, I know you talk about, but even just like, my world is about keeping kids safe, teaching them self-defense, martial arts, is young, whatever. The fact that there's a world out there that even people that attack. I used to do a stranger danger program, and obviously we're trying to, keep kids away from things like pedophiles. But now you have a society that's trying to, like, oh, that's offensive to them. Let's call them minor attracted. What? Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? No, like, get them psychological help, throw them in jail, castrate them if you have to. Like, what are, like, that's insanity. It's insane that we live in this country, this United States, this country is now focused more on it's focused more on the fake world of their emotions and feelings as opposed to reality, which is a problem. It's such a problem, as it's, the reality is not being followed anymore. People have been taught to believe that what their brain says is how things should be, is how it is, and if not, then they throw fits at an adult level. And we wonder why there's kids that are in their parents' basement never leaving, because they have no emotional skills, they have more no no ability to guide, and parents. And if you're listening to this, helicopter parents, they're the ones that hover over people. Lawnmower parents. What is a lawnmower parent? Funny you ask. Lawnmower parent is one that mows down every single obstacle and every single challenge a child has so that their child doesn't feel uncomfortable, so that my child doesn't feel sad. But now, you growing up, how many of you that are doing that to your kids, you had so many challenges in life, and you had people that didn't help you. You had people that traumatized you, and you figured it out and you got help, or you did it by yourself, and you turned out to be a stronger, more powerful, amazing adult. And now your brain is telling you, don't put challenges in front of your kids, make it as easy as possible. And you wonder why, when they're 20, they're going to have no coping skills and they're going to be liable to people taking advantage of them. You wouldn't give an 18-year-old a $100,000 mortgage to buy a house, but you hand them over a piece of paper saying you're allowed to get in debt for $100,000 for college. And kids are going to just go into those decision-making processes going, okay, I guess I got to go to college. When you talk to Elon, you talk to anybody that has companies, Google, they're like, don't go to college, come here, we'll train you. The kids that are going to be doing that aren't designed for college, they've been on YouTube for the last 10, 15, 20 years, learning, creating, going on Roblox, designing video games at 13. And then what? Send them to college designing video games? No, send them to Ubisoft, send them to all these other companies that have training programs. Is this an interview, or am I just supposed to rant? I got my Dennis Leary going on.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, Ron, it's totally okay. I will say that you're like the first guest that I've like listened to for that long. Like, I mean, I listened to all of my guests, of course, right? But like, I've never had anyone just
Yeah.
like take it away, which is totally cool. Like, I love your, like I said, this is why we jive so well. Like, I love your energy. I love what you're about. Really, like, this is one of the things that I believe that people need, right? And I mean, you threw so much out there. So like, thank you. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. I maybe,
Samesies.
pardon me.
No, I said samesies. I don't know either. I just go off and I get into my flow, and then I just complain about everything possible. But then I'll try to offer a solution or two, just in case there's somebody that's listening going, you know what? I'm just gonna take on the education world and challenge it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's always a good idea. I mean, I am one, and people who are in my personal realm and even who know me like as the owner of Star Students and the founder of Star Students know like and who are follow me on social media and keep up with my world, know that I can very easily get on a rant or two or three
Yes.
about the majority of the topics that you talked about, right? Like children learning a sense of responsibility, a sense of accountability, a sense of toughness, recognizing that, you know, our feelings are our feelings, but we have to make sure we know how to handle things and cope with things in a healthy manner. The idea of pedophiles and things like that, and learning how to protect ourselves as parents, learning how to protect our children and set them up for success, and not paint everything with a rose brush, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm a big advocate for age appropriate discipline and age appropriate topics, but the fact of the matter is that this is a far more dangerous world than the one that I grew up in. And I'm only 29. Like, I'm not even 3 decades old yet. And the things that I remember, the childhood that I remember having is not the same childhood that children that I teach live. It's not. And there are many good things that have come along, I think, with the advancement of society technologically, in particular. But there's also consequences that come along with those things. And I know for a fact that it's really, this is one thing that I stress with my students, and that my teachers stress with their students, is digital confidence and digital literacy, and knowing how to be able to do things, and recognizing, like you said, you know, stranger danger, but recognizing that not everyone has the best intentions for you, right? Being able to find that balance, I think, between trusting people and being able to critically think about certain things and say, wait a second, something doesn't make sense here. And that goes for a
So
variety of
you,
topics. not just with safety.
And you know, it's interesting when you talk about safety, we talk about like fear. So it's like my stranger danger program, Outsmart the Stranger, used to be about running away from a stranger and running in a zigzag and how to throw dirt at their face and then their body and how to yell stranger help and how to create a human chain and all this stuff. And then more statistics came out that the people that are doing the abduction are actually the family members and all these different things. But it's so interesting how like I used to start my programs with like, hey kids, what do your moms and dad tells you about strangers? Don't talk to them. How many of you have moms and dads that say don't talk about strangers, and then you see them talking to strangers and they all raise their hands? And I'm like, how many of you they talk to the gas station? I lived in Jersey, the only state that in New Jersey, the only state that you were not allowed to pump your own gas, yet somebody else would do it. It was really nice, feel majestic. How many of you are talking to the pizza guy? I see mom and dad talking to the pizza guy. How many of you were all this stuff? So it's like we put this fear, don't talk to strangers, but everybody that you don't know is a stranger. So having the parents understand, not just don't talk to strangers, maybe look, it's okay to talk to strangers, but ask me first. And then also I talk to the kids about understanding your gut feeling. And when I'm having the kids, like for example, when I used to do my assembly programs in schools, in addition to the bullying stuff, I would say, like, how many of you feel weird with me in front of you? Now they're sitting crisscross. I'm 6 foot plus, and I'm like 12 feet back from them. I'm like, do you feel weird at all? It's like, no. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna walk towards you. Raise your hand when you start feeling weird. I take 2 steps for them, all towards them. All of a sudden, they look up at me, their eyes get big. I don't even have to wait till their hands go up. I know there's a shift in their body. So I talk to them. That's your gut. That's your belly. That's your internal system that it understands. How many of you have ever met somebody and you get a yucky feeling? And kids raise their hand. How many of you have met somebody? How many of you have somebody at home that you don't like them and they come up to you and they grab your cheeks and they try to kiss you? It's like, my grandma does that. Like all that stuff that we teach kids, you have to do that. Like I was at an event with my love. We were at the restaurant and there was a guy there with like his daughter and his granddaughter, and his daughter's just watching an iPad, and we look, and my love is she's like a child herself. She's like, hi, and we're wearing our silly costume. The girl's hi back, and the grandfather goes, go dance for them, go dance, and he makes eyes like I'm just like, and he looks at her like that old school mentality of go perform for the other person. Let them squeeze your cheek really hard. Let these people that you don't know kiss you on the lips. All that old school. I immediately looked at the grandfather and I looked at the girl. I'm like, honey, like you don't have to do anything. Just sit, watch your TV show. You get to do whatever you want to do. And the grandfather looked at me. He was upset, but he didn't understand part 3 of behavior mastery. It's called the power look, where you look at the top of a person's forehead and you hum row your boat to yourself so your face goes blank. So he gave me a look that he was upset. I look back at him with the power look that totally put the sheer fear of you know what in him. That's also what I teach kids when it comes to bullying. Say the word and, like, and you're fat, and you're stupid, and then use the power look. You look at the top of a person's forehead instead of their eyes, and your face goes emotionless. The micro expressions in your face disappear. It's great to use it, especially when your spouse isn't taking the garbage out. Look at the top of their forehead and say, it's like, power look them. But it's super. But that's the challenge is like, having kids understand. Look, there are strangers out there. Use your gut instinct. Make friends. How many people have families that put the fear of everything? You can't go outside. You can't ride a bike. You're going to fall. You can't do this. You're going to do that. My mother, you can't be a pro wrestler. I'm not going to push you around in a wheelchair the rest of your life. Well, I did wrestling for 13 years and I'm still fine. And it's been, 20. It's just
Yeah,
fear coming from people.
yeah, look where you are now. And I really, so this is one part of your message. I mean, you have so much, I think, so much to offer
Mm-hmm.
people and in terms
I've been
of
around.
resources and so much to offer parents. But that is one thing that I think is really important because I would agree with you. We live in a culture. I was literally just having this conversation just this
Mm-hmm.
morning over the breakfast table with my husband about how like we live in a culture of victimization. Listen, crappy things happen and not so nice things are going to take place. That's kind of just life. And it's up to
Like,
you to take those experiences and be able to deal with them in the moment. And that seems to be very much what you are focused on, is teaching children how to physically protect themselves, and emotionally protect
yes,
themselves, which I love, right? It's up to you to deal with it in the moment, and to teach your children how to deal with those things in the moment. And it's also up to you to make sure that you utilize that experience as, this is why, as fuel, right? As, this is my why for how I'm not going to be, or my warning for how I'm not going to get into that situation in the future, right? There's a saying, fool me once, shame on you, right? But fool me twice, shame on me. So taking those experiences and learning from them, I think, is really important. And children don't necessarily have that toolkit right off the bat, right? As adults, you would hope that we would have that toolkit already. Some people don't. But the idea being that we're able to, as parents, we're able to give our children that sort of toolkit, and able to teach them strategies to be able to defend themselves. And I
yep.
love, I know that you have your business. I think you said it was Yogarati. Is that right?
We have a bunch of business. So Yogarati is our preschool and like lower elementary school, like grade one, two, three, program that teaches kids about breath work, teaches kids about self-defense, and then I have a ton of videos on my if you go to yogararitv.com, it takes you right to our YouTube channel. And there's tons of videos that teachers can watch with their kids, parents can watch with their kids, to do it with them. Because if you do the sun salutation with your kids and you stretch and your neck moves around and your back starts popping and you feel this immediate sensation going through you, like you're gonna feel amazing. But if not, then hit play and put it on for the kids, and they can give themselves a 5 minute break. And it's definitely beneficial. And then if you have in my behavior mastery is something else that we have. That's my 5 part behavior system that also helps to teach you how to work with neurodiverse, exceptional alpha kings and queens of the classroom, of your home. Because there's some kids that just need to be seen and they're performing, and if you want them to be quiet and sit still because that's the trauma and your programming, from when you were a kid, my question is, how's that going, and how much more energy do you want to use, or do you want to let this kid express themselves? So we have a program that's called Behavior Mastery Academy, where you can go take the whole behavior mastery course, and that's awesome. Um, those are really the two, and then there's that whole world on the Breaking the Bullying Circle. That's another one, breakingthebullyingcircle.com. That's all my bullying work outside of public schools, which also has there's a 4 part video on there of me in my yogarati costume, where it's 20 minutes long, 4 5 minute components, and that's what I totally want parents to just watch it, and if they like it, show it to their kids. It's me in the costume.
Mhm.
First thing is showing them how to use the word "and," like we talked about before, and how to understand that bullies just need dopamine. And if you use the power look and say the word "and," they won't give them the response. The second part is the conversation to have with the parents, where the parents ask the kid asks the parents, like, what do you want me to do if somebody's making fun of me in school? Which, everybody says tell the teacher, and nothing ever gets done, my opinion.
Yeah.
And then like other ones, like, what do you want me to do if somebody's making fun of me on a screen? What do you want me to do if somebody's hitting me, pushing me, kicking me, shoving me? And so that the parents can go, well, did you tell the teacher? Yeah, I'm still coming back with a black eye or a bloody, whatever. It's like, okay, well, now fight back. And then I even talk to the parents about, if you say defend yourself, fight back, stand up for yourself, that's great. Unless the kid's been watching ninja movies since he was 2, like I was, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
So then the part 2, part 3 and 4, part 3 is, this is how you block your face, this is how you block your body, this is how you cover your head from the side. And then part 4 is, this is how you do a front stomp to the person's gut to keep them away from you. This is how you put your hands out to defend yourself, just to keep distance. And then this is how you do a hammer fist, where you close your fist and you smash them on the nose once or twice, and then they never bully you again.
Right.
And then
Right.
I always recommend to people, if you can find jujitsu or grappling or anything, just put your kid in
Mhm.
martial arts. Put your kid in martial arts, so that I love watching videos of these kids that are bullies and they try to do something, and this kid half their size just dumps them. I mean, I take the victim side. I was a bully. I understand the bullying just comes from trauma. I understand that bullies are hurting inside, and they put up like when I came back from that military academy, I came back into school in November, which is weird. Everybody comes back in September. So one of the kids in my class like, "Where'd you go?" And he made some comment, and I just remember. I actually don't even remember cracking him across the face. I just remember just kind of like the fade to black, like a reverse kind of thing, and I went like that, and he's on the floor with the bloody nose, and the teacher's holding me back, and then I made a decision right there. No, you're not. I'm not going to get bullied. What I dealt with for 3 weeks, getting abused in there, getting punched in the stomach with combination locks because they couldn't figure out ways to hurt me more. Nah. So I'm just going to be the destroyer, and just every single person just like, no. How can I beat you more to make sure that nobody tries it? You're not going to
Hmm.
try to bully the
Yeah.
biggest guy in the yard. So even though those are the
This
rules,
is
that's how
very
you get
true.
respect.
This is very true. Usually bullies will pick on someone who's smaller than them, not someone who is bigger than them. Well, I mean, definitely not someone who's bigger
Yeah,
than them, but definitely not someone who's the same size either, right? Typically
yeah,
the person is much smaller than them or significantly smaller than them. And so I honestly love
yeah,
what you've built on. I love what you have created. I think it is really a top tier solution for parents who are looking to ingrain in their children a sense of discipline and a sense of authority, and a sense of self esteem and a sense of protection, really, and confidence, because all of those things are that's what that's going to boost. It's going to boost your confidence. People who are able to physically
yeah,
protect themselves. I know many children. I have many children being in the homeschooling world. Jujitsu is actually one of the more popular martial arts in the homeschooling world
yes,
with students that I teach, right, or that my teachers teach. And I noticed that the confidence is off the charts. Why? Because they know how to take down someone who's 2 or 3 times their size. Not because they
yeah.
are necessarily physically, like a bodybuilder, or like, yourself, you're 6 foot plus, you said.
They they, they
It's
just
not
know that
necessarily
within a
the size that
second
matters.
they can. Yeah, they know in a second they can put a foot behind an ankle, trip somebody up. Everyone's the same height on the floor. Get their legs wrapped around somebody's neck and choke them and do that. And it's very very effective. The challenge is going to a jujitsu school where if you're behind somebody and your kid choking out another kid, you got to let them go because then there's all this
Yeah.
other situations happening, especially
Hmm.
recently.
Yes, well, and so that idea of the protection of yourself, when you need to be able to protect yourself, right? And I am definitely an advocate for, with great power comes great responsibility. You have to make sure you behave responsibly and
Spider-Man.
appropriately. But for the most part, people who are being responsible, who are in that sort of mindset of teaching themselves how to protect themselves, they're not doing it irresponsibly. They're doing it because they want to be responsible for themselves. They want to be self-sufficient. They want to be in a leadership position. They want to be able to have that self-assurance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
And they
so
want to be
much,
able to
Ron.
also protect the ones that they love as well.
Precisely. Exactly. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And as parents, I would think that that's what
Mm.
you want to be able to do, is to teach your child to be able to protect themselves, but also protect others if it calls upon them. Thank you so much, Ron. I'll tell our listeners here today where they can find you.
Where you can find me, my websites. If you have the World Wide Web, the internet, check out ronspeak.com, RONSPEAK.com. When it comes to behavior mastery, check out behaviormasteryacademy.com. And when it comes to bullying, check out breakingthebullyingcircle.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. That is all for this week's episode of The Parent Solution. If you have any comments or questions, either about this issue or others that have come up for you, you can always find me on social media. It's Star Students on Facebook and LinkedIn, or starstudents.learning on Instagram. You can also reach out through email, which is all over social media channels. Thank you, as always, so much for listening, and I'll be back next week.